Hey, welcome back. Thank you so much for tuning in to Sunshine State Showcase. My name is Ashley, and if this is the first time you're here, this podcast is about celebrating the creative spirit in every corner of Florida. And today we're going to be talking about Suwannee Roots Revival, which is happening next week at the Spirit of the Suwannee Music Park in Live Oak, Florida. This is one of the best music festivals, in my opinion, folks. You can be going through so much leading up to the festival, and then once you go, you just feel like you have been rejuvenated, revived, all those things that make you feel good when you come home, and I cannot wait for all of us to experience it. I want to thank Beth, Judy, and all the folks who are responsible for this festival because it is looking to be a fantastic time. If you're a person who is into Americana music, bluegrass music, and camping and art and nature, then this really is the festival for you. It feels like a reunion of kindred spirits, and it really has the most friendly environment ever. It's really not a hard venue to navigate either. Let's get into the headliners before we get into the park. This year, the main headliners are Oteil Friends, and then you've got Yonder Mountain String Band, Donna the Buffalo, who have a long, long, long history of playing festivals in this park. And then you've also got Peter Rowan and the Walls of Time Band. Oh my gosh, y'all. I think Peter Rowan might be 81, 82. I know his birthday is July 4th, but he's bluegrass history, he's music history, and if you ever have an opportunity to see Peter Rowan, you need to do it. Because even now, his performances are remarkable, and he's just one of the most iconic songwriters that there is. I am really excited for Brian Elijah Smith. I first heard about Brian Elijah Smith through the Florida Winter Music Festival. I believe he played there last year, maybe the year before. And he's just got these awesome, dark, somewhat, dark and mysterious songs. And if you watch his TikTok, he's really clever with how he presents his music in that I think that he is completely homespun. He does all his production, he writes all his songs, he films all his video himself, and I have yet to see him. So I am really looking forward to seeing Brian Elijah Smith. Also on the list, we got the Ain't Sisters. That is a festival favorite that is growing. I got to interview them back in April at the Florida Americana Music Festival. They had an album come out earlier this year that is called Atomic. Make sure you listen to it. That is a fantastic album. And they've really run the gamut. I really wouldn't put them into one genre because they're so versatile. They could go anything from ramped up indigo girls to I wouldn't be surprised if they could also play like pop punk. I mean, they really are all over the place. In fact, I remember when I interviewed them, if they had ever listened to Danzig in their lifetimes, and they had. So they can go hard or they can also be on the gentle side, and I just love them, and you will too. Another one is Walter Parks. I met Walter Parks a couple of years ago at the Florida Folk Festival, and he has a history. He played with Richie Havens back in the day, which if you are a Suwannee OG, then you will remember Richie Havens played at Suwannee Springfest or maybe Magfest at least a couple times, and that is an experience I will never forget. So he has a history with the late, great Richie Havens, and I think also Judy Collins. I saw him last time at the Florida Folk Festival, and he did these field hollers. He went and studied a lot of, the traditional music coming out of the Okefenokee Swamp, and I believe, if I'm not mistaken, he's from Jacksonville, so he's a real Florida boy as well. So don't miss Walter Parks. That is going to be amazing. Speaking of Florida, we've also got the Lee Boys, the Sacred Steel. If you haven't seen the Lee Boys, what are you doing with your life? They are a big family, and they play gospel music. They will get you moving, they will get you dancing, and they will definitely get you feeling the spirit. I have so many great memories of standing down in the down by the amphitheater at the Spirit of the Suwannee and watching people just lose themselves dancing to the Lee Boys. So I hope you'll catch them out too. Another thing that's great about this festival is, Beth Judy does a great job of bringing in different folks and rotating the cast every year, but she also knows who people really, really want to see every year, and she does a great job of bringing them back. And some of those are The Grass is Dead. If you love the Grateful Dead and you love bluegrass, then this is gonna be for you. You are going to love it. They don't just play Dead tunes, they play other tunes as well. I think they've got some originals, and they play multiple sets throughout the weekend. They've got some of the greatest musicians in that band, and you can tell that they just love working together, and I think one of the best Sunday fun days I've ever had might have been last Suwannee Spring Reunion. They played the Sunday out there in the dance tent, which is out in a big meadow, and everyone was there, and it was just this collection of, everyone having fun and being connected to the music and dancing, and the sun was going down over the horizon. It was a whole thing. You had to have been there. And another returning favorite is the John Stickley Trio. If you are into instrumental music, if you like Bela Fleck, if that's your jam, then don't miss these folks. They are a trio, and sometimes I am just amazed when I listen to them, and then when I look at them, I think to myself, "How the hell is all that awesome music coming out of 3 people?" But then I think to myself, "These 3 people are brilliant." John Stickley is one of the most brilliant premier guitarists there is right now, and Lindsay Pruitt, she I like to say me and Lindsay kinda came up together at Suwannee. We're about the same age, and I remember meeting Lindsay when I was a teenager, and we got to jam together, and she got so educated, and she is now an educator herself, and it's just been wonderful to see her move and grow with this band, so don't miss the John Stickley Trio. Now, for all my friends who like singer-songwriters, you love that intimate performance where you sit down and the singer-songwriter will tell you the story of how the song came about and how they went about writing it. You'll laugh, you'll cry, you feel like you're sitting down in the living room with them, right? They've got you covered at the Suwannee Roots Revival. And some of the best songwriters, Verlin Thompson, what an American treasure. Holy cow. He was the right-hand man of the late, great Guy Clark. I remember Guy Clark used to play at Spirit of the Swanee years and years ago before he passed, and Verlin was his sideman, and I remember occasionally Guy would step off stage and say, "Verlin's gonna do you one," and the whole crowd would just be weeping. And I've had many experiences where I've stood down in the sunshine at the amphitheater stage or maybe at the, porch stage, and I've looked up at Verlin, and he'll just, make me laugh so hard with one of the stories he's telling surrounding the songs, and then the next minute, I'm, like, hiding behind my shades because I've got tears coming from my eyes. And that's the mark of a great songwriter, so I really, really look forward to seeing Verlin. If you haven't seen him before, you should be there. Another great songwriter who will be there, and I believe Jim Lauderdale, I think he's written songs for George Strait, maybe some other big country stars. A lot of the time, I go see Jim Lauderdale, not just for the music, but what to see what he's wearing. He has the most impressive and tasteful Western wear wardrobe, and his personality is so infectious. A lot of the times, he'll play a set with Donna the Buffalo, and that just becomes a downright party. But sometimes you'll get to see just a little intimate songwriter experience with Jim Lauderdale, and that is the best. The next set of singer-songwriters I gotta tell you about is Nikki Talley and Jason Sharp. They are a husband and wife team, and they are from just outside Asheville, North Carolina. I remember the very first time I met Nikki. I was camped down Hippie Road at Spirit of the Suwannee Music Park. I had my flutes with me, I had my penny whistle with me, and what I do at night when all the music on the stage is ended is I wander around and I go find a jam session, go find people to play with, and I heard this voice, and it just stopped me in my tracks. And I walked closer and closer and closer, and I'm shy, so I kinda hid outside of the barrier of their campsite until finally, I think somebody saw me and waved me in, and that was Nikki, and she was just singing her ass off, and she welcomed me in and she invited me to play, and we've been great friends ever since. And her husband, Jason, he is one of the most tasteful guitar players. I love to hear him play. I love the way he accompanies Nikki, and he's just such a nice guy. He sings great harmony, and the two of them together, I think they have the band with them this year, which I've only seen them do a few times at the festival, but whenever they do, it's always an extra special treat. So do not miss Nikki Talley and Jason Sharp, y'all. Okay, so before we move on, I should talk to you about the artist at large this year, and that is John Mylander. What a great spirit. He plays with everyone. He is a phenomenal violinist. And I say violinist because I'm sure that guy could play anything. And whoever he finds himself with on stage, which is gonna be everybody, it's just gonna be next level. And he just has this smile and this kindness about him, and the couple little interactions I've had with him, he's always been nothing but really sweet. So whatever set that you're at, I'm sure you'll get to see John Mylander, and I know you'll enjoy it. So let's talk a little bit about the park itself. As I mentioned before, it is at the Spirit of the Suwannee Music Park in Live Oak, Florida. If you're coming from the Panhandle, then that's off of I-10. I believe it's exit 283. At least that's how I go. I can't believe I've been making this drive for over 20 years, y'all. And my heart just skips a beat every time I go over the Suwannee River. I have to sing the song. But the park itself, it takes place at a camping resort, essentially. They have every amenity you could possibly imagine. They have a country store, they have a canoe livery, they have the SOS Cafe, which is really, really great when you just need to go inside and get some air conditioning. If you're a person who likes sports, they've also got the ball game on. And they have one of the stages in there, and they have tables and seats, and you can go in there and escape the heat because, let's face it, it's Florida. It could be hot, and it has been hot this time of year, but if you go in there, you'll be a lot more comfortable. Plus, pro tip, towards the back of the music hall, there are really nice, clean restrooms, and I've never had to wait longer than 5 minutes to get in there, and I think that that's a good thing to know when you haven't been there before. The other thing about the park is if you've forgotten something, I mentioned before they have that general store. They sell just about everything. There is all kinds of camping for everyone. They have primitive sites, which I think comes with your ticket. And then there's also upgraded camping available, which you can reserve with the park office. So if you've got a big RV, or if you camp in a tent, but you want some electricity, all of that is possible through the camp office. And the park is huge. It's on several hundred acres. And the way it's positioned is let me see, there's the amphitheater stage, there is the back porch stage, and then there's the tent stage, and then there's the music hall. Those are the different stages. They're kind of located somewhat centrally, and then the camping surrounds the music venue in all different directions. There's, one area, they call it special persons. That's near like some horse stables where if you had a horse, you could camp with your horse. And I've seen tents and RVs out there. It's out in more of like a field kind of atmosphere, but there's also some trees back there. And then you've got the loop. That's mostly where you have RVs and electric sites. And then if you continue up River Road, you'll find more RV and tent camping, and that'll take you to the river. So if you're there with a family and maybe you've got a newborn baby, that's where you're going to want to be, because that is official quiet camping from my understanding. From what I understand, if you camp back there, you're expected to be quiet at a certain hour, and that is exactly what you need if you've got a family. Now, if you're feeling a little more rowdy, if you like to stay up and pick, then I suggest you camp on the other side, which is just past the other checkpoint. You'll see when you get there. Uh, it's more of a tent camping atmosphere, definitely more tents than RVs on the other side of the park. There's also some upgraded camping, and there are some RVs, just not as many as, say, the Loop or River Road. And that's where you've got, if you go to Halloween, they call it Spirit Lake, but I've always called it Rees Pond. That's what the sign used to say. That's where the chapel is. And one of the greatest things about this festival is how welcoming everyone is. This festival came out of MagFest, and that festival got started, I believe, in the late '90s, early 2000s, and it's a lot of the same people. So, a lot of the people that I've met, I have known them for close to 20 years, and it's just wonderful to see how people come together and love each other and catch up, and they put a lot of work into their campsites. Like, there's campsites that are just works of art. They put up art in the trees, they hang things from the trees, they bring their own plants, they have banners for each of their campsites. There's all kinds of things that they do to give their campsites certain personalities. So, shout out to Pooville, shout out to Camp Caruso. One of the best things also about this festival that I love, because I'm a musician and a lot of my friends are musicians, is that they really are kinda like an old school bluegrass festival in one way, and that is that they encourage what we used to call parking lot picking or campground picking, where pretty much any time, not even necessarily after the music is over, people just go back to their campsites and jam around the fire. And there are 2 campsites that are on the festival map. When you get your festival map when you come in, check it and find a place called Slopperyland and also the Bill Monroe tent. They're kind of on opposite ends of the pond, but you'll see it once you get the map. And the Bill Monroe Shrine is hosted by a band from, I think they're from Gainesville, called Quarter Moon, and they've been going for years. And you'll see the big painting of Bill Monroe and I think Vassar Clements up on the side of their tent, and folks just jam there all day and night. If you show up with your instrument, they'll say, "You wanna play one?" And they will welcome you right in, and you can play music with them, pretty much as long as you'd like. And then there's another campsite that's called Slopperyland, and it is a wonderful and special place. It's hosted by Sloppy Joe, which is one of the festival regulars as well. They've been performing at the festival for years. They're from Wisconsin, Stevens Point, if I'm not mistaken, and they completely transform their little section of Suwannee. They decorate with pumpkins in the fall. I've seen them put up all kinds of other decor. I've seen them build a bar, and they just welcome anyone and everyone to come into their campsite and play songs, and we play all damn weekend, y'all. I have spent so much time in Slopperyland learning and playing music and making friends. It's definitely the place to be. Even if you don't play, you can stop by and have a great time. Don't miss it. So, if this is your first time attending a festival with your family, then you are in for a treat. This is a great festival for families because they've got the kids' tent, and I believe they post the activities in the schedule in the festival program, and they've always got something fun going on there. And then, they've got the vendor row, which has the food vendors and the craft vendors. There's all kinds of great food options. Last time I was there, they had a really awesome fancy taco truck, and they had all kinds of different tacos. And then I've also seen Bahamian food. I've seen flash fried Brussels sprouts. I've seen smoothies. I've seen burgers. I've seen pizza. They have everything. There's a coffee truck. Praise the Lord. I always end up needing a double shot in the dark. That is my go-to at the festival. I probably have at least a double shot in the dark a day at Suwannee Roots Revival. And also, they started something new that I think they're doing this year as well. It's called the back porch. If you go into the vendor area, you'll see a metal building, and on the inside, they have a stage set up, but on the outside, they've got this area that to me looks like a VIP area, but it's for everyone. And they've got these high tables with these tablecloths, and you have a view of the amphitheater. You've got all these different stages, and you can see the amphitheater. And I think that's pretty nice because if you were a family and you were down at the stage and your kids were like, "I'm hungry, we need to eat," then you could easily gather up your kids, go across the little road, get some food at the vendors, and sit down at the picnic tables and watch the show. And then your kids are satisfied and you don't miss any of the show. I think this is a really nice addition. And they've got a great variety of vendors, as I was saying before. Plus, they've got yoga. If you are up early enough, go to yoga. It's a wonderful way to start the day at a music festival. Also, I know I should have mentioned this when I was talking more about the music, but there are workshops at this music festival. And I believe this is also going to be at that other stage I was just telling you about near the vendors, the back porch stage. Many of the people who are playing on stage at the festival are leading workshops. I've seen some really great ones in the past, especially one with Elizabeth Fravel and Rachel Hillman. They do a lot of the Spirit of the Suwannee music camps in the summer. I saw a great songwriting workshop with them this past year. So if you like to learn, bring your instrument and go have a hands-on experience at the workshop stage. So, folks, Roots Revival is right around the corner. You need to get your tickets. You need to get them now before they go up at the gate. In fact, they may have already gone up by the time you see this. Either way, just spend the money, splurge, get your ticket. You won't regret it. It will change your life. If you've been going through a tough time, you will come home revitalized. You will have a time like you have never had before at Suwannee Roots Revival. It's going to be so much fun. It's going to be ridiculous. I promise. Remember, those dates are October the 9th through the 12th. Make sure you've got your tent waterproofed. Make sure you've got your RV all checked out. This is the time to do the last minute things before you hit the road. While I'm at the festival, I'm going to be interviewing some of the artists who are performing there, and I'm also going to be writing a preview article that you'll see on Grateful Web, and I'll write a recap article that'll also be on Grateful Web, and I'll be making some additional episodes of Sunshine State Showcase, which you'll find here on my YouTube channel. Well, folks, before I go, I'd really like to thank Beth Judy and her team for putting together such a fantastic event. I could hardly contain myself. It's all I can do to not just throw my stuff in the car and go now several days before, because this is an experience that is vital to my spirit. And I think once you go and experience it too, you'll feel the same. So folks, take care of yourselves and each other, and I'll see you next week at Suwannee Roots Revival at the Spirit of the Suwannee Music Park. Until next time, take it easy, but take it.